So now, on behalf of the entire faculty and administration, I want to thank you for believing that MIT is the right choice for your family. We will continue to work hard to earn your trust. Next, we will hear from 3 faculty who will try, at MIT speed, to give you a sense of what's like to live and work at MIT. I will introduce all 3 and ask that they come directly to the podium in sequence. Our first speaker will be Yoel Fink. Where's Yoel? Just get up for a moment. Yoel Fink is a professor of material science and of electrical engineering and computer science. He earned his undergraduate degree in physics and chemical engineering from the Technion in Israel and his PhD from MIT. Until recently, Yoel was director of the well-known MIT's Research Laboratory of Electronics. For the last year or so, he has led the Advanced Functional Fabrics of America Institute that we call AFOA. AFOA aims to enable a new era of workforce development and economic growth based on, listen to this, smart fibers and textiles that send and receive information. But don't expect to find those fibers on wearable neckties if you can help it. I want to thank our faculty speakers for agreeing to be here with us today. Let's start. Please join me in welcoming Professor Yoel Fink.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your kind words. I'll begin by honoring the memory and service of late Senator John McCain, a true American hero, Navy pilot, prisoner of war senator, a courageous person of his word and a vocal voice of decency. John McCain succumbed Saturday to a terrible brain condition called glioblastoma, or GBM. GBMs are among the most difficult tumors to treat. The tumor is genetically heterogeneous, made up of rapidly mutating cells. These not only represent a moving clinical target, but also somehow manage to evade detection by the immune system itself, making it a stealth tumor. Thus far, only incremental progress or improvements to a 15-month life expectancy have been achieved for this disease. So I'd like to dedicate my comments today to my 14-year-old son, Roe, and to former MIT student Stephen, both who are battling forms of brain cancer. Senator McCain lived a life of purpose. MIT is a great place to help you identify and amplify your purpose. The tools you will soon acquire should help you express your creativity and mature your ideas to impact the world in a positive way. MIT is the world's best launchpad for ideas. I arrived here as a student almost 24 years ago, got off the Kendall T for the first time, trying to figure out where is MIT. Now, growing up in Jerusalem, schools and certainly universities had fences and guards, and for the life of me, I couldn't find either. In time, I came to appreciate that the absence of fences and open doors were an important facet of MIT's culture and part of what makes this place so special: openness, freedom, confidence, and with very few imposed boundaries. Louis Pasteur, the father of microbiology, said once that chance favors the prepared mind. My beginnings at MIT were humble, and I'd like to give you a few key examples. I got 55 yes out of 100 in my first midterm quiz. Could not find a research project for over a year, even though I interviewed with dozens of professors. Couldn't bring myself to complete the qualifying exams, and my first manuscript was rejected by referees on the basis of it being neither new nor interesting. Finally, I had a professor, and this is a true story, set up a table for me in her office because she felt I was shy and socially challenged. So I ended up partitioning my time between some amazing courses, great conversations with my kind mentor, Professor Bob Rose, sailing on many afternoons at the Sailing Pavilion, and listening to some fascinating research talks from Ned Thomas, John Joannopoulos, Bob Langer, I was preparing my mind, but had no way to imagine or plan for what. One afternoon, a thick book landed on my desk. It was a research proposal just funded by DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. Hey, Yoel, my advisor said, you may want to read this. We will be discussing this research plan in a meeting next week. This is what you're going to be spending the next few years on, so read up. As I was reading, it occurred to me that the solutions outlined in the proposal were beautiful, but highly complex and certainly not very practical. It occurred to me that a much simpler approach was feasible, and yet it wasn't mentioned anywhere in the proposal. Now, these are really important and knowledgeable, world-leading professors that wrote it. I thought to myself, you must be missing some background. So a week later, in a room with these famous professors around the table discussing the plan, their plan, I was pretty quiet and I was taking notes, as students many times do, and the meeting ends with the perennial, any questions? And so I'm thinking myself, Yoel, do you want to ask the question? You have this idea. Now, I was sure I was gonna look pretty stupid, and I was pretty scared. How many of you would ask the question? How many of you would not? Okay, great. And then there's some of you that are just thinking about the question. Well, in the last minute, I asked the question, and the room fell silent. That question turned into a discovery of a new type of mirror, a paper in the prestigious journal Science, an invention which the New York Times called the perfect mirror. It got me my position here, helped frame my research for 18 years, and was the basis for a medical device that has helped cure 300,000 people, many of them with brain tumors, created hundreds of jobs in manufacturing facilities in Massachusetts. It also set the stage for AFOA, a $300 million Department of Defense-backed nonprofit manufacturing institute that is transforming fabrics, as the president just told you. Finally, it allowed me to meet and work with amazing people like Ray Stata, John Joannopoulos, the head of neurosurgery at Brigham, Dr. Kioka, a 4-star general, Paul Kern, and Stephen, who I mentioned before. I owe my career to that chance moment and to asking that question. So I'm not sure what conclusions you could draw from a story of one person, but perhaps someone here who happens to land a 55 on their midterm decides not to take it that hard on themselves. That those of you who have been told that you're socially challenged get to have a life. That you practice kindness to yourself and others, and that you focus on preparing your mind. And that all of you feel empowered and muster the courage to ask your question. But there is one more thing. Really? Those of you that know me are not surprised to see me without a tie. I don't wear ties. Now, on more than one occasion, the president of MIT, who is sitting right here, has encouraged me to wear one. As a career-building step, I really wanted to do it. I just couldn't find one that fit. The break in the case happened on August 8th this year, just a few weeks ago. My student, Michael Ryan, published a paper in the journal Nature for research. And by the way, publishing in Nature for a researcher is like winning the Super Bowl. So it's a big deal. Announcing a breakthrough in fibers, which he called the Moore's Law for fibers, and fabrics that could communicate. And so now, for the first time ever, I'm going to pull out one of these fabrics, which was actually made into a tie. And so this tie is, in fact, a communication system. And I'm going to just try to turn it on here, and so you could see it. And this tie actually is broadcasting information to you, so you need to have the right app for you. And so this is a tie. That is not only a communication system, it is fitting of MIT. And now, in honor of the president, I am going to put it on. Thank you very much.